When you talk about bacchanal, see Trinidad Carnival. Good Lord, the biggest bacchanal.
Well, thanks for including us in this film. So he's nervous, eh?
Yeah. I was born in a little town called Rio Claro in the island of Trinidad and Tobago. Could you start over? I was born in a small island called Trinidad and Tobago, which is in the Caribbean. My parents were also born there, but my great-grandparents were from India. They got married under Hindu rites, and they had 11 kids. One passed away, so the 10 of us are alive. We are all living in Toronto now. At that time, though, when we looked at our birth certificates, they all said illegitimate. For us, it was legal getting married under Hindu rites. So it was not recognized in Trinidad at that time. So my parents were Hindu and we were all Hindus, although we attended Presbyterian schools. I wanted to be a doctor, but my parents could not afford that, having 10 kids. So I just decided maybe the closest thing is to be a pharmacist. So I went to work at this pharmacy where I was like an apprentice. I was around 25.
Probably.
Yeah. 25? Yeah. 24, 25. Yeah. And his school was next to the pharmacy, but I did not know him as yet when I started working there.
I was born in San Fernando, which is the second largest city in Trinidad. My parents were married in Hindu also. But what happened in those days, in order for the kids to go to the prestigious school in Trinidad, which was run by the Catholics and the Presbyterians, my parents, I guess, they chose to be Catholic, so that my eldest sibling could attend the prestigious college, which is Presentation. And my second sibling, he also attended the school until he passed away at the age of 17. I also attended Presentation College. I placed 97th in the country. My parents were lucky, so they didn't have to pay for my tuition. While attending high school and doing grade A-levels, which is equivalent to grade 13 in North America, I used to hang with some friends and we went to this birthday party. And at the birthday party, I saw Cynthia. And somehow or the other, I latched onto her, I guess. And from then on, we started dating and stuff like that.
We were living in Rio Claro, which was more the country area, but I worked in San Fernando. So I was staying at my cousin's place. And that night, her boyfriend was invited to a birthday party. I was seeing another guy at the time, but he had to work that night. So my cousin and her boyfriend was going, so I decided, well, I will tag along, right? And that's when this guy came up and asked me to dance. And of course he said, oh, I think I've seen you someplace before. Now, I don't know if he just said so or really did he see me before. Did you see me someplace before?
Yeah, maybe at the pharmacy, because I always see at the pharmacy. The school was next door to the pharmacy. I was still at school when I met her.
After the party, he did not know where I live or anything. So he and his friends decided to follow us in a car to see where we lived.
We came to the house, and as we were going back, there was one road, and then it split into two. So there was a ridge of grass in the middle of the Y, and the driver was trying to put back the cigarette lighter into the socket in the car, and he took his eyes off the road just at that point. And we rode up on the grass, and the car went on one side, so we just climbed out the car, rocked the car back on the four wheels, and came back home. When you're young, you do all sorts of things, you know.
He was smitten. He just doesn't want to say that. So after that, he kept coming to the pharmacy to visit. He would ask me out on dates like, let's go to the movies. Then he would walk me home after work. He asked me to go to his graduation dance. And the manager would say to me each time, you better let that boy go, or else you will not finish do your studying. And he would repeatedly telling me that. And that's exactly what happened, I guess. So that's how we sort of met up. But what I remember in the midst of this, remember I told you I was going out with someone else. It was kind of dilemma now, who I should choose, right? My choice came to this because this guy was working and he had to work in the night a lot, and that's when you would go out. So of course I went out with Peter more because he was more available. But then I remember him telling me one time, well, may the best man win.
I can't remember that.
Yes, I remember. So that's how we
Maybe
met.
I had a couple of beers or something when I said that.
Well, coming from Trinidad, the way we lived, everybody respected each other's religion. It was very common, like people would marry the different religions because culture-wise, we were all the same.
I mean, there are so many different religions in Trinidad. Every religion takes part in the other religion's festivities.
So that wasn't very strange for us, marrying. Well, about the age thing, I don't know. Maybe I might be revolutionary because I
No,
think
I don't think so.
most people marry people who are the same age or younger. But I think I always looked younger because I was always slim. So I don't know. We just both came up here and got married and started a life together.
When I knew I was coming up to Canada, well, my brother who studied in England, he had a spring coat, right? So he said, well, take that. So I took it. I was so excited I bought a pair of gloves. But the glove I bought was one of those gloves you would wear at a wedding, or chauffeur would have very thin. So when I came up here, I was collecting my baggage and I heard these guys, and I'm sure they were from Trinidad, say, oh, look, he's just like Sherlock Holmes.
So the first time I saw snow too, I remember putting up my both palms to catch the flakes. It was such a novel experience. It was really, something quite unique for us.
I mean, that life was a bit tough at the beginning because you knew very few people and stuff like that. But it worked out in the end. And we had to pay a babysitter. We never knew about babysitting and stuff like that. And I was working close to home at the shoe store. And I would go home for lunch, and I would pass by the babysitter's house and see our son Kirk in the stroller outside in the sun, and I would have to be walking on the other side of the street so he doesn't see me, so he doesn't cry. So those were trying times. At that time, I didn't think of discrimination. So I applied to a hospital. There was a job posting in the newspaper. When I saw, she said, oh, the job is taken. Another experience I had is within the first month, we were looking for an apartment to rent, and there was this notice saying flat for rent. So when I knocked on the door and the woman opened up, she was European, Italian or Portuguese. I guess she couldn't speak English, and the sign was still posted, and when I spoke to her, however she could understand, she shook her head, meaning no, she didn't want us there. I don't know whether it was rented or not. So that was, like I said, only later in life I thought maybe it was a bit of discrimination, but I didn't take point of that at that time.
We were the pioneers, and I was the pioneer in my family, really. Every year or so, we would sponsor another one, and they would all come up because my father passed away during that time. And so we decided to let my mother come up because she was diabetic and he died from diabetes. So she'd get better medical attention here. All of us are here. But both my parents, of course, are no longer here. we really made it much easier for them because when we came up, we had to learn everything. I didn't know how to dress, the clothes, because there was no one to tell us, and I would look at everybody, lips, and theirs would be smooth and mine would be all cracked, not realizing you had to use chapsticks, and, so it was quite an experience.
Those were like they say, the good old days, you know. But I mean, it was still tough, not knowing too many people here, but like I said, we managed.
Well, of course, we had two wonderful kids, two boys, and they have their own families. So now we are grandparents with a whole big family of our own. And we're very proud of all of that.